He's gotten used to you being there, waiting, thinking about him, searching for him in every glance, every message, every sound. A man senses this not through logic but instinct. He knows you're there, and he feels your energy, even if he says nothing. But everything changes the day you stop searching, not pretending, not putting on an act, but truly deep inside, when you draw the line without drama, without blame, without pain, quietly, profoundly, forever. Jung said, the strongest influence on another person is your own inner transformation. When you let go, a man feels it. He senses it not with his mind, but in his body. It's as if something disappears, something that used to nourish him even from a distance. He may not understand it right away. He might not even realize it. But one day, he'll feel an emptiness, the emptiness that used to be filled by your attention. When you stop looking for him, he's left face to face with himself, without your gaze, without your words, without your presence always lingering near. And that's when a process begins that he never expected. At first there's surprise. He thinks, she's not writing anymore. Why isn't she interested? Did something happen? But then comes fear. Because a woman's attention isn't just attention, it's validation, warmth, a source of strength. If he once felt significant around you, now he feels emptiness. Jung taught that everything we deny in ourselves, we go searching for in others. And if he was running from you, maybe he was partly running from himself. But when you disappear, he's left alone with that part of himself. You were a mirror, and now the mirror is gone. He no longer sees himself reflected in someone else. All he sees is himself. And if he's not ready for that, it's terrifying because now he's forced to search not for you, but for himself. When you stop looking for a man, you stop being his anchor, and he begins drifting without solid ground beneath him. He might start searching for you in other women, texting you, trying to reconnect. But by then, it's too late, because the true transformation happens within the woman who finally chooses herself. And here's what he feels. He feels a loss of power. He feels anxiety. He feels like he no longer has an impact. This isn't selfishness on your part. It's the severing of an old bond. A woman stops looking for a man not because she stopped loving him, but because she's tired of loving without reciprocation. And that's her power. You're not turning your back on him. You're not playing silent games. You simply stop being where you're unseen. And that's when a man comes face to face with the truth. You were his foundation. You were his light. You were the presence he took for granted. And now you're gone, not physically, but energetically. He can feel it. He remembers your voice, your eyes, your words, but you're no longer there. And that's his pain, because everything he didn't value suddenly becomes precious the moment it's gone. Jung said, you become what you are conscious of. All else governs you. Whether he becomes conscious or not no longer matters, because you're no longer living according to his reactions. You're living for yourself. You're not searching, you're moving forward. And he feels it. And that feeling hits like a blow. He loses the woman who never kept him in a cage, yet was always there. And that's when the real truth emerges. He may come back, not out of love, but out of fear of losing control. And in that moment, you'll see everything clearly. Because the woman who has stopped searching is no longer the same woman she was before. She's grown, she's walked through her pain. And now she knows, if a man doesn't search for you, you don't owe it to him to search for him. If a man doesn't choose you, you have the right to choose yourself. If a man feels your silence, let him decide what to do with it. But you are already free. And he feels that. And that's the most powerful feeling a man can experience. Because what frightens a man most isn't your love, but its absence. Not your presence, but your emptiness. Not your words, but your silence. Now it's up to him to decide. Run away or try to catch up. But that's no longer your story. Your story begins with you. And it's no longer about who you're searching for. It's about the woman who has found herself. He might hide it, pretend he doesn't care. He might keep living his life, posting photos, laughing with friends, being with someone else. But inside, it's not silence he finds. It's emptiness. Because when a woman stops searching, a man is left alone with himself. And that's more frightening than being left without her. Why? Because as long as you were searching, you were sending him your energy. You were like the sun, not always close, but always radiating warmth. And now it's night. He may try to look for you in other women, in habits, in the past. But it won't replace you, because you were unique in your openness. And when a man loses a woman who is genuine in her feelings, he doesn't just lose a relationship, he loses the mirror in which he saw his own essence. Jung wrote, "Every encounter is an encounter with yourself, and every separation is a rejection of a part of yourself." He's not losing you, he's losing the version of himself that existed when he was with you. And that's an unconscious pain. At first, it disguises itself as anger. How could she just leave like that? Then confusion. Why isn't she writing? And finally, silence. And in that silence, he hears himself for the first time. Not your voice, but his inner voice. And if a man is mature enough not to run, he begins to change. He stops searching for the woman and starts searching for his essence. Asking himself, what did I do wrong? Where did I stay silent when I should have spoken? Where did I play a role instead of being real? This is what a woman does when she stops searching. She becomes a catalyst for real transformation, not through drama, not through reproach, but through silence. Suddenly he notices there's no familiar good morning, no one asking how his day went. His world has grown quieter, and in that quiet a man begins to grow up. He might return, or he might disappear forever. But inside him, something is no longer the same. You've shown him a new standard. You've shown him what it's like to be loved without manipulation, without games. And now you're gone. And if he looks for you again, it's no longer out of comfort, but out of a desire to become the man he was when he was with you. Because only with a real woman does a man become real himself. And you are that woman. He feels the loss of his own strength, but at the same time, he feels respect. Inside, a struggle rages. Part of him wants to prove you were wrong, and another part knows you acted wisely. And this inner tension can push him either toward growth or back into another illusion. It all depends on him. But you've already chosen yourself. You're not waiting. You're not hoping. You're simply living. And that's power. Because a woman who has stopped searching becomes magnetic. Not because she's playing it cool, but because she now radiates inner fullness. You can feel it from afar. She doesn't care who chooses her, because she has already chosen herself. And that's when men start feeling her power. Not in words, but in silence. Not in actions, but in energy. A woman who no longer searches becomes the center. And a man can either be drawn toward her or fade away, but he will not remain indifferent. Because she no longer gives him what he hasn't earned. Jung wrote, "When we love, we give ourselves. But it's important not to forget to come back. You've come back to yourself. And whatever he feels now, pity, sadness, anger, that's no longer your burden to carry. You've lived through the pain, faced the fear, and let go. Now you are free." And he feels it. And that feeling will stay with him. Even if he pretends nothing happened, deep in his soul there will always be the imprint of the woman who stopped searching. And it's precisely at that moment that you stop being just a part of his past. You become the beginning of his inner journey. And that is priceless. You're no longer following, you're leading. And he, if he's ready, will catch up. If not, he'll remain where you left him, in the moment you stopped searching. Sometimes he comes back, not right away. It might be a week, a month, a year. He reappears suddenly, as if nothing ever happened. He sends a simple hey, or randomly likes an old photo, or pops up in your stories. It's not by chance. It's not just an impulse. It's the energy he's felt once again. You stopped searching, but your absence has become louder than your presence ever was. He senses that you no longer belong to him, and his ego can't stand it. It's hard for a man to accept that the woman who used to wait for him is now silent, that she's gone, that she no longer reaches out. Jung said, "When the image that sustained our shadow disappears, we are confronted with reality." He begins to realize he wasn't addicted to love, but to the feeling of significance. You were the one who confirmed his power. You were the proof that he mattered. And now that's gone. And he feels it. He's no longer in control. And this shatters his familiar worldview. He might get angry, he might belittle you, he might say, "I don't care." But inside, there's a storm, because your energy is gone. And a man feels a woman's energy more deeply than he'll ever admit to himself. He starts to remember not your mistakes, but the moments when you smiled, when you listened, when you sat in silence beside him, simply being yourself. And then he's faced with guilt, with longing, with regret. But that's his path now. As for you, you're no longer waiting. You're moving forward. And that is the greatness of a woman, not in staying beside a man at any cost, but in letting go when love is no longer mutual. That is an act of profound inner strength. You didn't abandon him, you chose yourself. Your soul has finally stopped begging for scraps. It has come home to itself, to wholeness, to silence. This is what most men fear. A woman who has found her essence. She no longer searches, she radiates, she lives. And that's unfamiliar. It stirs fear because now he can't control you. All he can do is either admire you or walk away. And either way, it no longer affects your path. You've stepped outside the game. You've become yourself. And that's a power that cannot be ignored. And sometimes that's precisely when a man begins to awaken. He starts to grow. He turns inward, to his inner child, to his fears, to his pain. He walks a path he once refused to see. And at the end of that path, he becomes someone else, deeper, more mature, more real. Not for you, but for himself. Because your silence, your absence, your distance have become a mirror for him. The moment you stopped searching marked the beginning of his inner awakening. You didn't know that in your silence, you were giving him a chance at rebirth. But not everyone takes that chance. Some will choose to run, some will find someone else. Some will remain stuck in the same patterns. And that's a path too, but it's not your path. You're no longer participating in other people's lessons. You're learning your own. And the biggest lesson of all is this: to stay true to yourself. No one is obligated to choose you, but you are obligated to choose yourself. No one has to save you from loneliness, but you have to stop trying to save those who never asked to be saved. A woman who stops searching becomes a magnet, not only for a man, but for destiny itself. She no longer begs. She accepts. She moves forward. And the universe responds. A man feels this not on the level of words, but on the level of energy. He senses that you no longer need him, and that means you are strong. A woman's true power lies in her calmness, her silence, and her ability to keep walking without fear. You stopped searching, and in doing so, you found yourself. He might come back, but you are already someone new. He might ask for another chance, but you're already in a new space. And if there is a connection between you again, it won't be a repetition. It will be something new, without pain, without games, without fear. Because now, you're no longer searching. Now you're radiating. And that means you're no longer trying to control the man. You're in control of yourself. And that is true maturity. Feminine, deep, unreachable for those still stuck in the past. Jung wrote, "Only the person who has passed through the hell within themselves can truly love." You've passed through it. You're no longer afraid of losing, because everything you truly need is already within you. And the man feels that. He feels that you're no longer a plea, but a gift. Not an expectation, but a choice. Not dependency, but light. Light that he can either walk toward or be blinded by its brilliance. When a woman stops searching, she gives a man the greatest gift, the chance to come face to face with himself. And that hurts, but it's the path. And if he walks it, you will meet again, not as the people you were before, but as new versions of yourselves. Not to fill a void, but to share fullness. But even if you don't meet again, you've already won, because you found the most important thing of all, yourself.